All right, we've been covering extensively here the state of the stimulus negotiations. Of course, the current state of play is we're basically nowhere. Mnuchin offered Pelosi and the House Dems a $1.8 trillion deal. Not perfect, but pretty good. Probably pretty close to the most that they're likely to get. If it doesn't happen now, then you are not likely to get anything until, at best, the first quarter of 2021. That is months and months and months that people cannot afford right now. People who are already pushed to the brink. And in the midst of this, there has only been one member of Congress who has had the guts to come out publicly and say, look, we should take this deal, and to go against Pelosi. That is Congressman Khanna, who is also from California, actually a district not too far from Nancy Pelosi's district.
Literally, yeah.
He was on CNN yesterday and made the case to CNN's Harlow. Let's take a listen.
I voted for the original HEROES Act, which was $3.4 trillion. I voted for the $2.2 trillion that the House Democrats have. I believe our House plans are better than what the White House is proposing. But the point is, I'm one of 435 members of Congress. There are two chambers of Congress. The Republicans control the Senate. Trump is in the White House. And the point is, I could say, well, let's have the Khanna-Ryan plan or nothing. Or I can say, constituents of mine are hurting. We have to compromise. We have to get something done. And I'd rather they get some stimulus check and some rent assistance than nothing. And that's really what we're talking about is get something done. Let's all compromise at a time of a national crisis.
Anyone who
Credit
is
to him.
And total credit to him. And where is anyone else? Really? I mean, it is extraordinarily
Where's the squad?
telling
Where's it?
And disappointing that he's out there on his own making this case. And it's a case that is so obvious if you don't care about the politics.
Yes.
Right? And you just can't deny at this point that what Pelosi really cares about is not having a deal before Election Day, because even though Joe Biden looks like he's going to have some freaking landslide victory, she
Why
can't
risk it?
Possibly risk giving Trump even a little bit of an edge and giving him a deal. So she's going to find excuse after excuse after excuse not to ultimately pass anything. There was another interesting exchange here we wanted to highlight for you, which is that Poppy asked a very good question of Congressman Khanna, which was like, hey, you guys are a bunch of millionaires. Is that part of the problem? Is that you're just disconnected from what else is going on out there? Let's take a listen to that.
You brought up the food lines, right, in your district. And we looked, and Second Harvest, the food bank in your district, says that they are seeing an average of 500,000 people each month. That is double where you guys were pre-pandemic. And I wonder if you think part of the problem here is that so many members, most of the members of Congress are actually millionaires. The median income for people in Congress who filled out the financial disclosure forms is $1 million. So are most members of Congress so rich that they don't really get what it's like?
I don't think that's the issue. I mean, look, I came from a middle-class family, but I've done very well. My district is one of the most affluent districts in the nation, in Silicon Valley. And yet the point as being in Congress is you have to represent everyone. And if you listen to people in my district, one of the most affluent places, people are basically in tears that they're going to lose their restaurant, that they're going to lose their small business, that they can't make rent. FDR was wealthy, but he hurt people. And I don't think this is rocket science.
You don't think it's at all a problem? And I'm not speaking to you specifically. I'm just saying the fact that there is such wealth in Congress, many have reported over the years that contributes to the disconnect.
Of course, it's part of the problem. And yeah, you can always point to FDR or others who basically bucked their class, right? But overwhelmingly, look, what have we seen during this entire crisis? They are a bunch of millionaires. That's who they socialize with. That's their experience through the economy. That's the lens that they look through. And so while you have most of the economy made up of service workers at this point, you have next to no service workers in Congress. You have no working class people. Even as representation of women and minorities has gone up and up and up, still a long way to go, but improving in Congress and state legislatures. Working class representation is flat or has gone down. You just have no actual representation for the working class of America.
That's the story of the entire U.S. economy. It's the story of our politics. Everything flows from the economy. I think that's why we're so obsessed with it here, because that's power. That's money is power in our society. And you can see that in the way that it's enacted there. And credit to Khanna. But look, we shouldn't overstate the case, right? Like, this is one guy. it's not the majority of the caucus. And if it was, then that would be noble. But it's not noble. The truth is, most of them are keeping their mouths shut. They got nothing they can say. Nancy Pelosi will ridicule you on national television.
I'm so afraid of
her. If
her.
you dare stand up again. I mean, he's a freshman in the House. He has zero institutional power. All he has is his voice. He's trying to use it. But she will not forget what he has done here. He's like, Khanna, that's nice. We played that here.
Yeah.
It's one of the
total
most
contempt.
outrageous things I've ever seen.
He will not, like, whatever committee assignment or whatever he's going to get next time, forget about it. But you know what? You're not there for, like, your freaking committee assignment.
That's not what you're there for, exactly.
To lift yourself up the ladder. You're there to lift the people of your district up the ladder. Another article that I wanted to highlight for you, because I thought this was really interesting and underscores the fact that, like, look, this is it. Terms of a deal. Next 19 days, and neither one of us is at all optimistic, by the way, that they're going to get anything done. So we always just want to be really clear about that. But essentially, the Washington Post is reporting part of why Senate Republicans are saying no to a stimulus now. Part of it's ideological. Part of it's donor pressure. Part of it is they really have internalized this like insane electoral mindset that somehow giving people help is going to be bad for them electorally, which is crazy. But I think some of them have actually really internalized that. And they actually believe it. They learned all the wrong, crazy lessons from the Tea Party era. So this article quotes GOP operatives saying essentially that a key Republican goal right now, this is from the piece, is to lay the groundwork to revert hard to austerity should Biden prevail, crippling the possibility of any serious stimulus efforts next year, even amid continued economic misery. So basically their thinking is, if we do this massive multi-trillion-dollar deal now, it's going to be very hard. It's going to be harder for us to turn around in the Biden presidency and be like, sorry, can't spend any money, when they've clearly been spending when it wasn't their guy. So they want to go ahead and start the pain now to lay the groundwork for future pain during the Biden administration.
What do I try and tell you guys? I know these people so well, and we hate each other for this reason. Because it's like, well, we're the only ones who really expose them for what they are. And this is it. This is the truth behind the whole game. But there's only one benefit that we have. The people are actually on our side. So Trump, if he was an effective leader, could leverage that against every single one of these idiots as bosses and say, listen, you fool, you want to vote against the stimulus? I'm going to tweet against you, and you're going to lose. You know what's happening right now in North Carolina with Tom Tillis? Everyone's talking about how Cal Cunningham is up in the polls despite that whole the affairs and all that. North Carolinians didn't seem to care. What they don't say is that 7% of the vote right now is going to the Liberty and Constitution candidates. You know why? Because Republicans and conservatives there do not see him as loyal enough to Trump. If that 7% were going to Tillis, he would win. Meaning that if he was more of a Trump Republican, he would have a lock on that seat in North Carolina. So guess what? Get with the program or die.
Yeah.
But Trump isn't effective enough to leverage that.
Unfortunately, what being a Trump Republican has become is just being like fawning praise of him. It's not about any like ideology or values.
Right.
So there you go. More Rising for you after this.